Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. Today we're going to be talking about navigating work culture with Angelina Darrisaw, who is the CEO and founder of C-Suite Coach. Along with me is my colleague Medvis Jackson.
Yes.
And I'm Annie Himmelsbach. I'm a career advisor at the Graduate Career Management Center at Zicklin School of Business at Baruch College. So thanks so much for joining us, Angelina. We're really excited to have you here to talk about this really important topic. So if you could give us a few more details about yourself and about C-Suite Coach.
Awesome. So hi everyone, I'm really excited to be here. I love to talk about things that millennials, professionals, and any underrepresented groups could be doing to strengthen their career trajectory, to make sure that they're headed in the right direction and providing themselves with resources. And that is exactly what C-Suite Coach is all about. It is a platform to equip diverse millennial professionals with resources that they need to be successful in work. And that ranges from programming that has a strategy in mind to help make sure that we are navigating our cultures effectively. That also includes offering coaching, both to individuals and group coaching as well, to help teams function better. So that's a little bit about C-Suite Coach, and I'm thrilled to be here.
Great, thank you. So we're going to be talking about social capital deficit, which really means sort of not fitting in the workplace. So could you break that down for us and maybe give us some examples?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I think about social capital deficit, I think of, it can sound like a really academic term, but to break it down, deficit, for instance, is just having a lack of or not enough access to something. And when you think about social capital, it's about having relationships and a network in place that empowers you to have access to opportunities, that enables you to establish trust and credibility in who you are, and really promotes your ability to be successful because you have those relationships in place. So if you have a deficit there and there's a lack of a shared understanding of the context of which you're operating in, it can be really difficult to navigate. So breaking that down a little further and just thinking of some examples, it is, for instance, being able to perform really well in your function and feeling really qualified, knowing that you are going above and beyond to meet what's in your job description, for instance, but not being considered for roles, because when the decision makers are at the table, they're not picturing you when they're thinking about leadership potential, because for whatever reason there's been a gap in the view of you being perceived as a leader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that can definitely be frustrating.
Yes.
And what inspired your focus in this area, and what motivated you to work towards solutions for your clients?
Absolutely. So one of the things I think about is when I was in corporate strategy roles doing digital business development work, I was working with these really cool clients, Snapchat, Twitter, Tumblrs of the world, and my office door was swinging open, not so much with people wanting to talk about the innovations that were happening in the digital space, but it was primarily people of color, women, LGBT individuals that were coming in and saying, we're having challenges navigating our work culture. We're having challenges. I've been in my role for 5 years, and for whatever reason, there's a disconnect with me and my boss. I'm not getting promoted. I don't know how to have these conversations. And really, it's a group of folks that are operating without a handbook. Like there's like this secret handbook that exists for how to accumulate this social capital so we can have opportunities, and people aren't getting access to that. So I wanted to provide resources that helped these groups get access to the information they need to navigate their cultures.
Mm-hmm. And you had a really successful career in corporate America at Viacom before starting your C-Suite Coach venture. And I imagine that was a huge challenge and transition and shift. How did your own social capital help you navigate those challenges and launch your own business?
Absolutely. So relationships are really important in any field that you're in, whether you're starting a business or whether you're internal within a company. And for me, having access to so many relationships, there were constantly resources that were coming my way. I would find out about a program where there was free co-working space, for instance, for a period of time, and that was something that helped me to get started. I would find out about pitch competitions because I was constantly leveraging the relationships that I created and letting everyone know what I was doing so that they would then share resources back with me. So being able to focus and work on relationships was critical in my ability to get that comfort level to leave and start my own business.
Right. So you were using that approach to start your own business when you were seeking jobs, when you were looking for your position, where you ultimately landed at Viacom, for example. Were you using a similar approach, or were you doing the more traditional cover letter and resume approach?
Absolutely was leveraging the same of sharing, leveraging my relationships to find out about opportunities. So for instance, one of the things that happened when I was looking at this role at Viacom, I saw it, someone in my network shared it with me, and when I submitted the traditional route online, I got the "you're not eligible for this role" response back. And I applied again, got the same response back. I told the person in my network that told me the role was open, "Oh, this is happening. They're saying I'm not eligible, but I'm doing the same work at my current company.
Right.
Why am I not being considered for this role?"
Right.
She forwarded it to someone who forwarded it to HR. I got another email that said, now it was from a personal person, not a "do not reply," and it said, "Thank you so much for your interest. I'm really glad that so-and-so passed your name on for this role. Unfortunately, you're not what we're looking for in this role." And because now I had a personal email address, I could respond and say, "Actually, let me explain exactly how the work I'm doing correlates to the work that you're requesting in this role," and then that opened up an opportunity for an interview. But had that person not passed my resume on personally, that would have never been a conversation that would have been able to happen.
Right. Yeah, because I think I tell my students all the time that securing the interview really is the hardest part, because up until you have that one person to speak with, you're just a resume.
Just a resume.
Yeah, so once you have the person's email, then you have a lot more control over the situation.
Just to be clear, was the person that you met, whose email you got, was someone you knew previously, or was it through networking you had kind of come across them, or was it through sheer research that you got to them?
So the person that forwarded my email to HR was someone that I met through a networking organization, and then we ended up becoming really good friends. And then that HR person I didn't know at all, but the strength of my person's relationship and reputation throughout the organization helped that HR person feel like they should respond to me in a more personal way, and that got a whole conversation going. So after being rejected 3 times, essentially, I ended up becoming the person that actually got the job.
And I suppose that's a really important lesson for our students, is the importance of don't be the single fish in the pond, be part of a school of fish, right? And be able to leverage other relationships and give to those ecosystems so that they can now have a track record for you. They know that you do good work, you're responsible, you're on time, and so they can vouch for you. And you just don't want to be just out there just shooting in the dark. You want people to kind of tell you, no, there's actually nothing to shoot at over there. Come around this way, try over here.
Yeah, you need your advocates.
You need your advocates, and I think another thing that's laid in what we're discussing is the fact that we can create and share resources with each other. So sometimes when we talk about just the idea of social capital, maybe my relationships don't look like the relationships of the predominant culture of my environment, but my relationships with my friend groups and the other underrepresented people that look like me, we can still help each other. We can still be peer mentors and peer sponsors for each other and share opportunities.
Right. So that sort of segues into my next question. And once you got in the door, were there ways that you felt like you didn't fit into the culture? So language, proficiency, or gender, or religion, ethnicity, even just personality differences can sort of make you feel like you stick out or not fit in. Did you experience that at all at Viacom, and what tactics or resources did you use to help make you feel more comfortable?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think one of the things that happens is in a big company, there are lots of different subcultures that are existing, and I definitely was in a very corporate, formal group, which I appreciated and enjoyed, and at the time of my life really fit my personality. But as I began to explore other cultures and through resources like employee resource groups and getting to be with other folks that represented me and my experience, I got to see that there were other subcultures that better fit my situation and better fit my personality. So I would also say don't be afraid to connect with other employees and see what is existing within your company outside of your direct group. If you're finding that maybe this particular group isn't the right fit for me, it doesn't mean that the whole company may not have an opportunity where you can fit in and have a better experience.
And can you give us a few more details about maybe how that evolved? Did you just happen to be put on a project with these other groups, or did you actively seek out through social networks within the company?
Yeah, I actively sought out resource groups. So if your company has any employee resource groups, definitely take advantage of them. There are so many benefits that come from doing that. One, you get to really be a student of the business because you're hearing from different peers what's going on in their business units in a really informal way. You're also building your relationship. So what I saw happen a lot is folks that were members of ERGs would hear about another opportunity that was opening up in another group and be able to essentially get the first pass at going for that opportunity because they heard about it first. So that's one thing that can be a great benefit from being a part of networking groups within your company and employee resource groups. I definitely sought them out and wanted a place where I could feel sometimes a little bit more comfortable and let my hair down and talk about what might have happened at work or how do I deal with the situation, and it was a really helpful resource for me.
Right.
I think that's one of the biggest problems with having this quote unquote cultural deficit is that you sense it. And you understand that, like, hey, everyone may look different from me, or I feel really insecure about my language ability at the office. And it's so easily when you feel that insecurity, you shy away from things. And the biggest way to kind of try and fit in really well the culture there is to take it on and say, you know what, I'm going to try and make the effort of attending that work event, or I'm going to try and show up early for that work breakfast. And even if I don't feel that comfortable in my language, I'm going to hope that my colleagues will try and understand what I'm trying to say. And just through engaging that way, you'll kind of feel more comfortable and you'll feel less insecure. And so, yeah, those affinity groups can also be a great way of engaging. It's kind of the halfway step of, I don't want to jump all the way into being in situations where I don't feel comfortable, but I do want to engage my colleagues. I don't want to just show up at 9 and go home at 6. You know, that's one of the worst things you probably can do.
Right, starting small, creating a safer space.
With a sense of community. Also, if you're not feeling that in your direct group, is also going to be important for navigating and having a strategy to being successful in your area.
Yeah.
Especially at big companies like Viacom, too.
Exactly.
We were talking a little bit about this before we started, but I know my students deal with this, and I personally don't really like the bar culture, don't really like to go out to bars after work, but in a lot of organizations, this is sort of the way that employees will bond and let off steam and network. So how do you sort of balance that particular situation in terms of being yourself, but also not being anonymous within the group?
So it is totally okay to set for yourself what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. And you have to do that. You have to have the boundaries for yourself. Otherwise, there's going to be some sort of resentment or you're going to continue to feel uncomfortable. However, because happy hours are such a big part of office culture, if you're consistently not being present at some of those, then you really do have to do the work to go above and beyond to be present in other capacities. So that could be taking the lead at a networking group within your company or an ERG, or it could be taking the lead on planning an office activity for everyone, or doing something within the realm of office hours, having constant coffees, going out to lunch, being really visible if there are birthday cake surprises for people that are happening throughout the day. So, you know, definitely if you feel comfortable, you don't have to necessarily drink, but can still go to some of those happy hours. And if you don't, then go above and beyond to be visible and build a relationship so people feel like they know you, right? Trust is a big part of it, of what people want to see in their coworkers and potential leaders. So they have to build that relationship with you to begin to establish that trust with you.
And as you said, there were people coming to you and talking about sort of not feeling like they fit in.
Yes.
So obviously other people were feeling the same things that you were feeling. What do you think empowered you to take the initiative to start developing these programs at Viacom and maybe others didn't feel as comfortable?
I will say that I was in a really good position where I was able to navigate successfully, and for a variety of reasons. I've had a lot of access to opportunities to coaching myself. I've had executive coaching several times throughout my career, and I've been a part of fellowship programs where I was constantly developing the skills that I needed to be successful at work. So I had opportunities to get promoted throughout my career, to have conversations around salary negotiations or other difficult topics. And I think knowing that I had some of these experience and I was already equipped with some of that, I knew that there was a lack of it that existed for other folks. And it was really important to me to make sure that everyone had this access to being able to find the resources they need to get to the next level or deal with whatever professional challenges they were up against.
And in terms of sort of the nuts and bolts of making that happen, how did you influence Viacom to provide you with the resources that you needed to conduct the diversity programming that you initiated?
So, like taking a step back, one of the things that I did was knowing how to connect whatever you want to do to business value. So for instance, I was a manager at the time and we had intuition benefits. As a manager, one of the things I thought was really important was making sure I knew how to coach the talent that would potentially be reporting to me. So I leveraged intuition to get a certificate of coaching at NYU at the time when I was an employee. So that certificate, while coaching may not seem like an automatic instant connection to someone in digital business development doing deals with Snapchat, being able to think creatively around, I'm a manager here, I'm in this position where I will have to coach talent, having the skill set will help me. And it wasn't something that I knew at the time that I would leave to do full time, but it was something where I noticed if I'm going to be, we're having a lot of folks that are having challenges with their management, that are having challenges having comfortable conversations with their boss. I want to make sure that as I manage, I'm coaching the talent that's reporting to me and really giving them the resources that they need. So being able to creatively figure out how to tie whatever your request is to the bottom line is really important.
Mm-hmm. And that's also a major part of the career search as well, is you as the candidate, even how do you tie yourself to the bottom line?
Exactly.
That. So it's all kind of seamless there.
Exactly.
So once you left Viacom and in the context of C-suite coach, how have you found, how are executives in terms of their willingness to initiate these conversations now on culture and identity?
So there's a lot of conversation that's really even current that's happening about some of the challenges for underrepresented groups at work. And it really does vary company to company. There are some companies that have the philosophy that feel like we have it all under control, we've got this. There are some companies that are actively seeking solutions, that are saying we need to provide more programming, or we need a better approach, we need a stronger approach to making sure that this group is successful. One thing that I've read that stood out to me, and a company that's been outspoken about it, for instance, is I think it was towards the end of last year, Intel put out an article where they shared they were having increased pipeline for diverse candidates, but at the same time, increased turnover. So there was a period where roughly the number was around 200 new Black employees were hired, but about 200 left. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the same employees, but in that timeline, they weren't retaining their Black employees. So what's happening is there are lots of pushes to get more people in the door, but once we're in the door, what is happening to make sure that we are getting the resources that we need to feel comfortable? All this social capital talk that we're talking about to provide us with figuring out the resources we need to get access to that social capital so that we're not operating in deficit. There's a lot more work that needs to be done and we're all over the place in various industries with where companies are standing on how important that is.
So there's a really cool venture capitalist. He's also part owner of the Golden State Warriors, Chamath Palihapitiya. And he runs a venture fund co-op, Social Capital. And he's really big on the idea of diverse talent, diverse team with different perspectives. They can build more empathy for different types of customers, and that can actually really help your company thrive and be much more profitable. And if you're a student at Zicklin, you want to think, okay, one, you want to work at a company that's always innovating and moving forward. It doesn't become obsolete because that's a better place to work. You're growing as a professional, but you also want to know how do I, especially if you're a person who doesn't always, like you're not in the mainstream, quote unquote, who will embrace your personality to use not only your skill sets, but also your life perspective and life experience to create really great products or to reach new markets that are really untapped. And so I think the inability for a lot of leaders to kind of see that, not for a lot, but some leaders to see that is really now kind of showing itself, especially in the startup space where there's such visibility in which companies have big PR messes or which companies tend to stay out of it, which companies have higher retention, and these people, kind of different women or minorities, kind of are able to accelerate and break through the glass ceiling, proverbial glass ceiling. And I wanted to bring us to this study, Elephant in the Valley, that was put out in 2016. And it said in one so for first of all, they surveyed 200 plus women with at least 10 years of experience. And 66% of these women, they said they felt excluded from social networking opportunities because of their gender. And 88% of them, they said they experienced clients and colleagues, they would not address questions to them that they were the ones who were actually qualified to answer those questions. And so I guess for some of our students, what would be some of the tips or the tactics you use while you were on the job to demand more respect and also to also assert yourself to be included? Because it's one thing to attend events, but when you feel you're simply just being not included on stuff, that can be problematic. And to say just go get another job is not a good response, because that's easier said than done. You want to be able to stay put and want your company to grow a bit.
So there are a lot of layers to what was just addressed, and I think the first thing is the Elephant in the Valley study is not the only study that is like this, which is really impactful when you think about it, because there's a lot of work being done to show where there are people of color at work, where there are women at work that are feeling like they're not having access to opportunities. Center for Talent Innovation, for instance, put out a study in, I want to say it was either 2015 or 2016, that also addressed some of these topics, and independently companies are doing this as well. So that's one thing, that this research is becoming more and more prevalent, and there's now more focus and emphasis on addressing this, which is a good thing now that we have some data to back that up. In terms of tips and strategies, and Annie and I were discussing a little bit of this offline, it unfortunately sometimes is incumbent on the individual to even go above and beyond and show the initiative to create whatever opportunity is that they want. So that's one thing. A willingness to be assertive, a willingness to take a lot of initiative to get recognized. The other thing is a willingness to try things that are outside of the box. So for instance, I did not go to school to really focus on Excel work and data work and financial analysis work, but to create the next opportunities that I wanted and be able to position myself for promotions, I had to focus on that and strengthen my skill set in an area that made me uncomfortable, so that I could have access to moving up the ladder and showcasing, well, I can, yes, the next role is very data heavy, but I'm comfortable with data. I've focused on it. I'm willing to put my energy into forecasts and living in Excel and doing work that may not necessarily be comfortable to me. So that was one strategy I think I employed throughout my career, a willingness to try what may not be comfortable to create new opportunities is something that's also really important.
Great. I think then further in that report, I'll read up a few more numbers.
Yeah.
And this is, a touchier subject, but obviously the gender issue with appropriateness at work. And I'm sure some of our students have had issues at work with that and feeling, because the numbers here are staggering, so to ignore the elephant in the room would not be wise. And so it says 65% of women who reported unwanted sexual advances had received prior advances from the superior, with half of these advances happening more than once. 39% of those harassed did nothing because they thought it would negatively impact their career. So maybe in your career, have you seen this stuff happening, and what were instances in which HR acted well and addressed the situation, or when did they have to use other means to kind of have these issues addressed, aside from leaving the company?
Yeah, and
leaving their internship, sorry.
Annie and I also address this offline too. That's where the bar culture can be, or the bro-y type culture can also be really uncomfortable for women. It was really troubling when it does become incumbent on the woman or the underrepresented person to advocate for themselves constantly, and I'm glad that some of this data is coming out, because there should be an increased emphasis on the culture to change and not on that person to always have to navigate the culture. Yeah. And that's really unfortunate that that's the place that we're in. There needs to be more work on men, on how to be good allies, on how to mentor effectively and not make that woman feel uncomfortable. So if you are a man at work, for instance, that's watching this, some of the things that you could do is consider asking that woman peer or mentee of yours to have coffee in the morning as opposed to drinks after work. for being respectful of the fact that how it looks visually when they're sitting alone with you might have a different impact on their career than it does for yours. So being cognizant of even how close you are in interactions, those are some things that men can think about when it comes to being allies. Maybe having more than one person at the table. Does everything have to be on a one-on-one conversation? Those are ways that you can establish trust, and I think that it's really important for men to be active in wanting to be allies and thinking about how they're making their women at work, the women that they're working with them, feel more comfortable in building the relationships.
And in your work with C-suite's coach, are you sensing companies to kind of shift and take this issue more seriously? I mean, Q1 we had Fox News, Uber, things, major PR issues that a lot of them touched on gender inequality, or do you seeing companies take this more seriously right now, or is there still a hesitancy? And if people are taking it seriously, what are some of the trends you're seeing in terms of support groups and HR policies?
So whenever there is a time where there is more exposure for a particular topic, definitely companies are interested in moving more and being invested in it. Where I sit, I focus more overall on underrepresented groups, and I don't focus just on work with women, but talking to a lot of the women who are decision makers. For instance, at some of the companies that I work with, I know that they are really invested in making sure that their women have tools to advocate for themselves. So some of the themes that are coming up where they're looking actively for more resources on are around how am I presenting myself and getting exposure throughout the company for my brand? How do I tell creative storytelling that showcases my value to the business, and really making sure that the women at their company are equipped to be value driven, showcasing their results, really getting exposure that they need, and that those are skill sets that if women build, they can take to any company. So another thing that happens is if you are in a position where you're feeling uncomfortable and you don't have some of the skills that you need that are really transferable, you might feel like you have to stick with this position and be stuck in this space that makes you uncomfortable. Yeah. So the more that you strengthen your skill sets and develop the skills that are needed that can take you other places, the more opportunities you're opening up for yourself. So it's really important that if your company isn't investing in those resources, you continue to invest in them for yourself.
And I think it's really important too to also, and this is just not the gender, race, language, religion, that if you're not comfortable, do speak up. And that's HR. I mean, try them. Maybe they won't make a maneuver, right? Maybe say you don't consume alcohol or you don't consume pork at all of the events. Nothing fits your dietary needs, and nothing. There's always alcohol involved. And you don't consume. Or you're a parent and everything is so late. Then you're just like, hey, is there anything we can do things and do lunches? Or, do speak up, and if they don't do anything, that's another issue. And then secondly, do pay attention to the companies who do get it right, especially if you're a student here at Zicklin, like through Vault, through Curly, through our wonderful advisors. Pick their brains for CEOs or management where they do tend to embrace, parents who need to take off early or work from home, or people who do have a public profile with speaking out on these issues and creating real programs within their companies to not just talk to the issues, but also to create leadership opportunities for these employees as well.
So 2 things on that, on speaking up, totally agree, and I'd echo that. It is really important to trust your gut on situations where you feel like this may not be a comfortable situation or something is off with this. And it's okay to set professional boundaries for yourself. You will not lose opportunities. More opportunities will come. That's totally okay. So I really echo that is one thing that has helped me navigate uncomfortable situations in my career, is when I feel like someone is making me uncomfortable, being able to back away from that situation. And then in terms of following companies that are getting it right, so just a little quick story. When I was in undergrad, I was a part of the GSA on my campus and did some other work that focused on LGBT advocacy. And some folks told me, put that off my resume. Don't put that on your resume that you're interested in LGBT advocacy. People won't hire you. And I said, you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. And HRC had a corporate index where they ranked companies based on how inclusive they were for LGBT individuals. And what I said is, I'm going to go and make sure I'm applying to companies that are ranking well here. Well, recently I saw that Blendor is releasing, and Blendor is a blind job matching tool. They're releasing a diversity ranking index for companies where they're ranking companies based on how well they're doing for different metrics around treating their underrepresented groups right, helping them have access to opportunity. So look for companies that are, there are resources out there.
What are some of the professional networks that you would recommend that they might get involved in? I know you mentioned affinity groups within their own organizations, but anything else you might suggest?
I would suggest look for networking groups that are focused on your industry. Also look for networking groups that are industry agnostic, but that match young professionals. Maybe there's a shared interest. So for instance, one of the ones that I'm an active participant in and really enjoy in New York City, for instance, is Council of Urban Professionals. And the thing that links all of the professionals in that network is an interest in service. So a lot of folks are on a board or they're interested in becoming on a board. There's also the Urban League that's in different cities. If you're looking industry specific, for instance, when I was in media, I was a part of organizations that tied women together, like Women in Cable and Telecommunications. There's Name It that includes men as well, and that's multicultural in communications. So every industry usually has industry specific organization that you can look to be a part of, and that has great benefits as you build relationships with people throughout your industry. So that's one thing I would definitely recommend.
Great.
And question, just to flip this a little bit too, if you are a student who's currently executing, what are some of the things you would, in addition to these organizations, is any books, any resources to, you say, I don't know a lot about being politically correct, or I don't know, like, this is all new for me, being an advocate. You threw the advocate word out there. What does this mean? What will be some things you would say to prepare them for the professional workforce, so that they're not that, that CFO who has to go and do a public statement of apology because they said something offensive or they didn't understand what boundaries were in the office. What were some of the things people can do now to prepare themselves? Because these people are going to some of the top institutions for school, and they're learning everything but how to treat people, right? Or there are levels of appropriateness or lingo, what things not to say, what things are offensive. Sometimes some of these people, you almost feel bad for them. You're like, they grew up in a different era and they're just behind, and they have to say sorry, but they're kind of it's kind of a victim of ignorance.
Yeah, so in terms of resources, we are constantly discussing new topics around professional development on our website, and also we have a Medium page pushing out content all the time. That's one thing you can check out, C-Suite Coach on Medium. But in addition to that, I was always, when I was in business school, for instance, always reading a book about how to figure out this handbook. So Good to Great, for instance, was one book I read. Minority Rules, How Come Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office. Constantly trying to hear other perspectives from different people that have had some experiences in corporate America and hearing their strategies and solutions for success. So I think read all the books that you can. In addition to that, having conversation is really important, and being willing to connect with people that don't just look like you. So again, when I was at Wake Forest in business school, one of my key mentors was a white male senior executive, and that experience helped both of us to see each other's lens on what professionalism looked like and to bridge some gaps that we might have had. And it's important for cross-cultural communication if we want to change the way the workplace looks like, and make sure that more than just one type of experience is what creates culture, and making sure that other experiences are factored into creating a company culture.
And I would just say to all the guys listening today, just from my perspective, is be okay with being wrong. And even if you think you're right in a situation, or you think the other group, like, they have this political persuasion, that political persuasion, do learn how to listen and understand how you might be wrong or how things could be a different way. Because if someone says, hey, you're mansplaining, and you're saying you hate that term, well, no, listen to them why you might be mansplaining, because they may have a point. You may be explaining something to someone in a way that it's presumed they don't know what they're talking about when they actually clearly know more than you. So I will say that's one of the biggest tips too, is this: listen. If you're a business student now, get everything you can get here information-wise, and that includes on how to treat people.
So what's next for you, Angelina? What's next for C-Suite Coach?
We are continuing to build programming. One of the things that is a focus right now is making sure that there is more access for both our clients and also individual working professionals to have access to e-learning tools. So exploring the right fit for that right now. That's something that's really important. And expanding access to coaching is really important. So we're in a space where we're vetting coaches, and hoping that there will be more hungry working professionals that want to take advantage of an opportunity that can be really transformative in their career, and making sure that they have an accountability partner to navigate all of these difficult conversations and experiences that we've been discussing.
That's so exciting. And how can our students maybe keep in touch with you?
You can keep in touch by going to the website, www.thecsuitecoach.com. Again, follow us on Twitter, Medium, Pinterest, Instagram, everything at C-Suite Coach.
Yeah, she's a great Twitter account. I follow her.
Thank you.
All right, so again, this conversation will be live for a while. If you have any more questions, you can feel free to post them
we'll
on the video. We'll respond after this, and it'll be living on the web. Thanks for your patience, and thanks for joining us. Anything from the advisor standpoint?
Yeah, so for our students and alumni, we at the Graduate Career Management Center provide sort of the traditional job search support in terms of resume review, networking strategies, all that sort of thing. But you can also think about us and use us for executive coaching as well. If you are dealing with these types of issues in your workplace or any other type of ongoing issue in terms of just navigating your own career and where you are, definitely come and see us and we can help you with that. In terms of accessing companies that may be a good fit for you culturally, you can also access vault.com as a student for free of charge. And also use the Baruch Network to reach out to current employees of certain organizations that you're interested in, to have a one-on-one conversation with them maybe about what the culture is like in that organization, to see if that sounds like an organization where you would be a good fit.
And just remember that our advisors aren't experts, so it's like going to a fire department or not going to a fire department because you're just worried they won't know how to deal with your fire safety issue. It's like, no, still go to them because they've probably seen it all. They see millions of people every day. All right, so definitely come into the GCMC and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and get more great content like this. And definitely go follow the C-Suite Coach. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again, Angelina.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Angelina, so much. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.